Okay, so let's get started on our last lab for this project. And this lab will actually count as your midterm grade. Now, your normal labs are worth 150 points, and the midterm is worth 250, just to put that in perspective. But you've really done most of the work, and I'm excited to see what you're going to produce because you've been doing a great job so far. So let's just begin with our typical workflow. We're going to navigate to our project. Okay. Now I currently have my file open, but you know the routine. You just want to see all green lights, and then you're going to double click on the .aprx file. Okay. So as I said, I have mine open, and to show you where we're headed, I've created this PowerPoint template for you. Okay. So this is the title page that I came up with. Now you're totally free to change anything and everything that you want. Okay. The one thing I ask though is that when you include photos, please make them photos that you yourself have taken. Okay, I think that's really important. There's just too much generic imagery out there, and when you get into the professional world, you'll notice people don't want to see a photo that you got on Google. And these I've taken over, several years, and as you know, one of my hobbies is photography. So, whatever you have is fine. If you want to change the font here, that's good. Just make sure down here at the bottom you put your name. Okay, that's kind of important. And then on the following 4 slides, now these slides have been formatted to be 24 inches by 24 inches. Okay, and on the following slides you simply need to click on this picture icon, and then you're gonna navigate to your map exports. Okay, and we'll get into that in a bit. I just wanted to show you where we're headed. So we're gonna have our maps in here, like, okay, here's an example of just what a simple page is gonna look like. And all of this has been done already. Once you've exported it, you simply need to bring it in here, and you'll be able to create this book in no time. Okay, so let's head back into ArcGIS Pro, and what I'd like you to do is let's start off with catalog. Okay, now we are going to create our first map using our Texas base layout. Okay, and you really don't need to open your maps anymore at this point because we've done all of the work. What we really want to do is just fine tune everything here in the layout space. Okay, so the first thing I'd like you to do is turn everything off, all right, except the state boundary. Okay, and then you might have ecosystems open. Okay, the layout for ecosystems. If not, open that up. Okay, because if you recall, we created this nice title, we created an inner border. We have the correct scale. Everything we need is here. Okay, and as I said earlier, we simply need to copy and paste all of that work over into each new layout. Okay, so let's lock our map frame down, all right, because we don't want to copy that. And we don't want to copy our legend. Okay, but everything else, we're good to go. So what we can actually do is hold down Control and tap A. Okay, and don't know why it did that because these guys are locked. But what we can do actually is hold down Control again, select map frame to deselect it, and do the same for legend. Okay, now hold down Control again and do tap C for copy, and then come over here to the Texas base layout and simply hold down Control and tap V for paste, and everything pastes perfectly into place. Okay. So looking good so far, so good. Okay, now the next step we want is to slide the state of Texas down so it's not in the way of our title. Okay, so let's unlock our map frame if it was locked. Okay, and then select your map frame and right click and choose, oh darn it, hold on. Okay, it's actually going to be better if we take care of it over here because we have that inner border, and that's what I selected. So right click on your map frame over here and come up to activate. Okay, now did you see all the tabs change? Because effectively at this point you are in map mode. Okay, so it would be exactly the same as if you were working in the Texas base map. Okay, and that's why you got all of these new tabs. Okay, and so one of those tabs is map, of course, and the default tool that is activated when you jump over into map space is this explore tool. So it's super handy because that's exactly what we want to do. We want to use this pan tool to just drag the state of Texas down a bit. Okay. And let me see what that's not. Okay. So this keeps happening, and I'm sorry I didn't mention this earlier. What we need to do is double click on our map frame first and come over here to display options, and we need to take this off, okay, because that was what had locked our map into place. Okay, now same thing, right click, activate. Okay, and now we can drag the state of Texas down. Just about there would be fine. Okay, and now let's hop out of map mode by clicking layout. Okay, so now we're back in layout mode. Okay, and what we're going to do is let's start adding the layers we want to build this map. Now this first map is going to be called the political boundaries of Texas. Okay, and this is just going to give your readers or viewers just an idea of where things are, where the cities are, where the highways are located before we move into our thematic natural resource maps. Okay, so what I've discovered is this terrain elevation tinted hillshade is going to be a great base for this map. Okay, so I played around with lots of different ones, and this one I think is the winner. All right, so to find that, come over to catalog. All right, and once again we're going to go to our friend the portal Living Atlas and just type that in. Okay, and you will find it, and then you can just right click and choose add to map, or you could just drag it over here. Okay, so once you have that set, I would like you to go to project, all right, and open up your databases. Okay, now you should have two, and you should have this Texas poly contours. Okay, drag that and put it right above the hillshade. Okay, and let's just turn that guy on and right click, and you choose symbology, and these are the settings I would recommend. Okay, so in properties, you of course don't want any fill color, and I gave it this darker brown. All right, somewhere down, yeah, right there. Okay, and I just gave it a 0.2. See, it's just enough to really nicely define some of the topography or the elevation here in the state. Okay, now we're going to do transportation last because everything is set. We did a great job symbolizing everything, getting these labels set the way we want. So we're good there. Okay. Now the big one here, of course, is going to be boundaries because that's what the point of the map is. Okay, so we're going to do counties last because that is the one that's going to take a whole lot of time. And here's something I would strongly recommend when you're doing these final map layouts is to come up here to layout and choose full extent. Okay, and then just completely leave it alone. Don't zoom in and out. You may want to like check your labels, but that is really going to just take a lot of time because Texas has 254 counties, which always just astounds me because my parents retired to a state called Delaware and they have 3 counties. I mean, it's funny to me that there's such a difference, but okay. So 254 counties with labels is going to take a long time to draw, and every time you zoom, it has to start that process over. Okay, so that was my point there. Okay, so let's start with Texas cities. So let's turn that on, okay? And what I did for symbology, I honestly have a really hard time symbolizing cities. So maybe we can work on this together. I currently have the layer set at darken. Let me just put it on normal for, there we go. Okay, see, that just looks awful. So I'm going to click on my symbol and I'm going to go to properties. And as I said, usually cities are labeled in like a yellow or a red. And it's hard to really get this to look good. I'm going to try this citron yellow. Okay, that looks awful. All right, let's Autumnite yellow. Okay. Give me 1 second. Okay, so here's what I ended up doing after quite a bit of monkeying around with it. I just went with this third gray, okay, down from the top. Okay, and then I went up to feature layer. Now you have to have your Texas cities highlighted. Okay, and I changed it to multiply. Okay. And I'm just going to leave it alone at that. Now, while we're working through this map, make sure you understand that the names here are going to be the names on our legend. So if you have like GU counties or equivalent, just make it Texas counties. And remember, you could just change the name by just doing that double click and just typing in what you feel sounds good. Okay, so let's turn on our state boundary. All right, that's all good. Okay, and now our 2 biggies at the end are going to be transportation in Texas counties, but let's get everything else shipshape before we do that. So I'm going to start with the marginalia now, and I'm going to click on title over here. Okay, now that let's just click on this title. If you double click on it, you'll get the element pane opened up, and we simply can change the text here, which I really like. And I'm just going to call this political boundaries of Texas. Okay, now let's get this fitting properly. So I'm going to come over here to placement, and the size, let's get this a little more. Let's do 22.5, and let's tab and make that a 1. Okay, now here's where we can get this spot on. So remember, this is your X axis, okay? It always runs horizontal, and your Y always runs vertical. Okay, so our X axis from the bottom, let's change this so we're figuring it out from the top left, okay? And let's make that a 1. Okay, if this is, let's make this an even number, 22. There's 23. Okay, now make that a 1, and this should just be 22 because our page is 24 inches. Oh, shoot. Oh, this should be a 0. I'm sorry. Okay, so here's our final settings. Don't worry about the height, but the width should be 23, and then your X and Y positions should be this, okay? And we're good to go. So let's leave that alone. And now let's come over to our, okay, so I accidentally brought in 2 of these, all right? So I'm simply going to right click on this guy and choose delete, okay? And that takes care of that. I don't need, okay, that's the credit text. So I'm gonna make that credits. All right. So all of that is good. Okay, so now let's get ready to turn everything else on, okay? So we're gonna turn on our transportation. And at this point, what you can start doing as well, let's start with contours after you turn on transportation. So just highlight contours, come to feature layer and make sure that's on a blend of multiply. And then with transportation, if you click on the group, you can set the layer blend for all the layers within that group. And we want that to be multiply as well. Okay, Texas cities should also be in multiply. Okay, now here's our biggie. So before we turn it on, just highlight it and come up to labeling. Now, I think we should just keep this real simple, okay? And this POI with a white halo, I think is a good one. So we're gonna click on that, okay? And it's small, but it needs to be because we have so many counties. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is go to feature layer, and this guy can be on multiply as well. And click on the symbol down here, okay? And for the outline color, I don't want to make that pitch black, okay? I want to make it, actually, you know what? Let's do something cool. Let's choose this Larkspur blue and make the outline width a 0.75, okay? And now let's go back up to labeling and make sure these are checked, and this is highlighted blue. Okay, now it might say state name, and we don't need that. What we need is county name, so you can just find that in here, county name. Okay, now we're good to go. Now, once this finishes drawing, we're gonna wanna export it. So before we turn on that layer, let's look at everything, make sure everything looks good, okay? There's some stuff over here. This is the credits that came in with this map, okay? And that's good, but I wanna keep the same ones for each map. I don't like duplicates, and I'm not sure. Okay, that's our reference scale. So if you have it saying credits to, just put in scale, okay? And all of that looks good. Now, let's just go up here to insert. I don't even know if we're really gonna need a legend, but just click on legend. Okay, we'll choose this first one, and I'm gonna keep this really quick. So let's just draw it out here for now. And it's gonna put on a whole bunch of stuff we don't need. Okay, we don't need the contours, we don't need the hill shade or the terrain. So select those, right click and remove. Okay, and then, yeah, that's not a bad looking legend. Okay, so let's double click on the icon and come over here, and let's go to this first tab, okay, and uncheck show, okay, and let's just, I think we're good. Okay, let's just leave that the way it is. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do, was select it, and I want to make that box smaller. Okay, and select it again. There we go, double clicking, and then I'm just going to drag it down here, and that looks great. Okay, now let's do a Control S. All right, now finally turn on these counties. Okay, so these county labels have what's called a halo around the text, and that can be helpful, but in this case it's actually extremely distracting. Okay, that's the white around the black text, and it really muddies up our map. So what we're gonna do is come down here to Texas counties, right click, and we're gonna go to labeling properties. Okay, and you get this pane open, okay, and there's a whole lot you can do with labels. Labels are so important on a map, but right now all we need to do is take off that pesky halo. So come over to symbol. Now in this case, your labels are your symbols, okay? So you, just the same way we format symbols with colors and lines and that stuff, you can do that with your labels as well, okay? Because they're effectively symbols too. Okay, so scroll down here. Let's open up Halo. Okay, and yeah, 1 point is way too big. So let's knock that down to a 0.2, because they may be useful if they just weren't so fat. Okay, that looks a lot better. Now, there's just one final thing. Sorry, I've got to do this because my screen, I have this OLED thing, and there we go. Okay, so one last thing, to me, the highways are a little too dominant, okay? So I'm gonna open up this interstates and click on this symbol, and I'm gonna slim that girl down to a 2, okay? And let's check out our US routes. That's good, 1 point. Okay, now that's a nice map, okay? That's the political boundaries of Texas. Now, let's take off our guides. So I don't want to remove them, I just want to turn them off. Okay, so the last thing I'm noticing is the title comes too close to our inner border. Okay, so let's fix that, and we can do that by double clicking on title and coming to text symbol. Okay, and let's go to this paragraph, and I did the letter spacing at 80. Let's knock that down to a 45. Oh, and that's what's going on. It's not centered. It's off. Okay, we'll get that. Let's get that taken care of first. I don't know why that can be so. There it is. Position. Okay. So we want that to be in the center. it's going to be a lot easier to see what we're doing. Okay, now we can come back. Okay, so just to show you how I did that, because sometimes in these, I'll tell you, there's a lot in these panes, and it can be hard to figure out some of this, where some of this stuff is. I mean, I still get lost sometimes. So you want to click on text symbol, okay, and then general, and then position, and here's the horizontal alignment. We simply want that to be centered. Okay, now let's go back to the paragraph, and the letter spacing is at 45%. But what we're gonna have to do is, let's lock that inner border, select this. Okay, just select that and right click on it, and we're gonna choose align, and we're gonna choose align to page, and then right click on it again, and under align we're just gonna choose center. Okay, now those settings will hold true when we copy and paste it into our other layouts. Okay, now let's come back to text symbol. Let's go to this paragraph. I know this is a lot, but, and let's make this 75. See how that looks. Why? Okay. Let us, let's right click over here, and let's go to align and align center. Okay, good. Now we're done. All right. So do a Control S. All right. And now remember, we always have to wait for this wheel to stop turning. All right. In order to export our map. But we can get the process started now by coming up here to share, and we're going to export this layout. Right now, I want us to try JPEG because it's going to save us a step down the road. All right. Sometimes it takes a little longer, but PowerPoint won't accept PDFs onto a slide. So we need to make them into JPEGs anyway. So let's see how long one of these maps will take. So we're going to choose browse, okay, and make sure you're in your 3300 project, and come to exports, okay, and we're going to call this Texas political boundaries, and choose OK. All right, now for the compression quality, let's leave this about, let's just leave it at about a 65. Then for the DPI, we've got to knock that down because that's a huge file. Okay, so let's try 225. Yeah, that should be good. Okay, now your bit depth, you want that to be 24-bit true color. All right, don't have any of that checked. And actually, let's take this to like a 185. I think that's really going to help. Okay, I like it under 5,000. All right. Then just choose export, and that's it for this first mini section, but the other ones are going to go much quicker. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video.